Let's talk about songwriting. Whenever people mention, the great songwriters of the last 20, 25 years, you're always in that group. How is it something that it's like pulling teeth, or it's something that's fun to do? Is it something that's regular, or?
No, it's hard. I have a hard time doing. It's difficult, but I don't know. I just really aspire to do it at a high level of. I really just, maybe I'm a little too fussy about it. I'm just very meticulous about the lyrics. And kind of like coming up with stories that I'm willing to tell or that I want to tell is hard for me sometimes. Because I'm not really naturally a writer. Like, I remember for a little while in high school I kept a journal where I wrote down everything that happened to me every day. Because a friend of mine did it, and I was reading his journal, and I thought, God, that's cool, I'm going to do the same thing. And then after about 6 months, I stopped writing in it, and then about 3 months later, I looked at it, and I took it to the fireplace and burned it.
That's funny. I did the exact same thing. That's so funny, yeah.
Yeah, so, the lyrics in my songs, sometimes I just kind of make something up, or they are personal a fair amount of the time, but anyway.
You wrote a song with the Gin Blossoms in 1995 that was a giant hit.
Yeah, I did.
That's kind of an interesting thing. In terms of the music business, you've got all these records on all different labels, were you treated fairly? Were you ripped off? What's the general vibe?
Oh, jeez. Well, I don't piss and moan, I'm not a crybaby.
Okay.
And I like my life a lot, and have a sense of pride about myself and the music that I'm able to make and all that stuff. But yeah, I've experienced failure. None of my records were hits. The first one was really like a high-profile flop, to be frank about it, because there were really high expectations for it, and then it.
But it's become a classic record, and I imagine it still sells today.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that they're not great records. I mean, I know I've made some nice ones, but no, none of my records have been hits on their own, unless you count "Someday, Some Way," which is still out there, like in movie soundtracks and so on and so forth. But I have had a couple of hits as a songwriter, and I seem to be on sort of like a 9 or 10 year cycle with hits, song hits.
Well, as long as you can pay the bills, then you're doing great, I think.
Well, yeah, no, I can do that, and knock on wood,
Yeah, 2004, you end up playing with the MC5.
Yeah, I did.
That's crazy. I mean, that's like the world coming full circle.
Yeah, kind of. I know it was pretty big to me,
Was it fun?
Come again?
Was it a lot of fun?
Yeah, it was. It was huge fun, actually, and it was nice. I mean, it was the first time ever that I played in somebody else's band. No, I'm sorry, second time. But to step into a situation like that, with that kind of body of work, I really have a high regard for their stuff. Great songs, really amazing songs.
Yeah, and, powerful.
Yeah, and plus, just the sort of it's intense kind of music too. I mean, first few nights I was out on the road, I didn't have proper earplugs, and that was really bad. I think that set me back pretty far.
Yeah. Well, it's funny.
Like we used to do this one at the end of the set called Starship, which is kind of like this free-form, meltdown thingamajig. And the first few nights I was on the road, I would just kind of lean into my amplifier and try to play the soundtrack to Forbidden Planet on my guitar, and again, with no earplugs for a little while.
Ouch. Yeah.
I hate wearing earplugs, actually, but I mean, I just didn't have any choice with them,
Yeah. Well, I did see you play MC5 song solo acoustic. I've seen you solo acoustic a bunch of times, and you make it work. You started playing a lot of solo acoustic gigs recently, and it seems to me, again, talking about what a great guitar player you are, you totally figured out how to arrange these songs, so you're not just sitting there strumming campfire chords and singing your songs. It's like a whole different song almost. Yeah. So you've got a bunch of gigs coming up this summer in New Jersey, Massachusetts, New York, etc. Are these with the band? What kind of gigs are these?
Yeah, I have a bunch of gigs this summer where I'm going to have a group with me.
Yeah, great.
And a few in Michigan also.
Yeah, and a couple in New Jersey, WFMU's home state.
Indeed.
So folks can check MarshallCrenshaw.com for that. All right, Marshall, we've got to end it. I'm going to play There She Goes Again, unless you really protest.
I want to plug my movie theme also.
Sure.
I wrote a movie theme.
What's that?
It's this movie called Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. It does, they just finished shooting it, but it's a comedy. It's a Judd Apatow,
great.
Jake Kasdan collaboration, and Dewey Cox is a fictitious rock star. It's kind of like an irreverent take on the history of rock and roll.
And this is a song with a song or just an instrumental?
I wrote the theme song.
Oh, great.
It's called Walk Hard.
I'm sure this will be a giant hit. It seems like everything Judd Apatow does is.
Yeah, again, my 10-year cycle is coming up, so I'm hoping that it'll do well.
Tell me about this song, There She Goes Again. Tell me about the writing it, the recording of it, anything.
Yeah, I wrote it at my kitchen table in our apartment in Pelham, New York. We lived by the train station in Pelham for a couple of years, and we had this, this fake wood formica top kitchen table, and I just remember sitting there writing this tune. It was just like, it's just sort of like a mental. What is it? It's like the Midwest, cars driving around and cars and girls in the Midwest, kind of.
Yeah, perfect. Well, it's a fantastic song. Marshall, thank you so much for visiting us today. One of my favorites. There's just almost all, every record you can get your hands on by Marshall Crenshaw, I urge the audience to do. And go see Marshall this summer. Thank you so much, Marshall.
Oh, thank you, Michael.
Sure. Talk to you soon.
Okay, be well.
Bye-bye.